was lucky enough to get a job at BMG Interactive. My first day, I got this security card that said it's all good. And I was like, hell yeah, it is. I couldn't believe you could have a job making video games. And I met Sam and Gary, and they were doing Grand Theft Auto 1 in Silicon Valley, and I was like, oh my God. And then we were shipped out to America. Take-Two brought us. Like cows. We were like cattle, you know. But I loved, I mean, I couldn't believe my luck. I was out in New York. And yeah, very, very lucky. And I worked there till, I forget now, 2006, 2005. Take-Two brought B&G Interactive back in 97. So we moved to New York. And very quickly, Sam was like, you know, we need our own label. Like, we have our own voice and our own opinion. It was important to create a label and a logo that meant something to consumers and they could identify with and knew what they were getting. And so I was very fortunate to work on, you know, all the Grand Theft Autos and the Midnight Clubs and the Max Paynes and Smuggler's Run and Bully and Manhunt and yeah. It goes on and on. We made a lot of games. I've been there, you know, a long time. I think it was just like a natural evolution. It was just the right time. It was the sort of the best time in terms of minimal impact. There's lots of really talented people there, I think, you know, I wanted to just sort of do different stuff, and I think it was just sort of the, you know, a natural sort of elegant time to go. Well, I was quite surprised. I didn't believe him at first when he'd left as well, and I was like, really? But Gary was the CTO, and that definitely gave me the confidence to start a games company because he handled sort of all the tech side, and really starting the 4mm, like I can't stutter, was because I'm not really a resume guy. I didn't really want to have to go and, you know, go to interviews and go, oh, can I have a job at Activision or EA? You know, they're great companies, but just didn't feel right. You know, and it was kind of like, I like being in New York and there is no other game shop in New York at the time, so it's like, well, you better start your own company. But I was also very interested in like virtual worlds and like kind of the explosion in social gaming that started to happen, and I want to take on the MMOs and virtual worlds and all that stuff. So that's a lot of where kind of 4mm came from, and the idea of digital distribution and all these sort of free-to-play models. And then Nick Perrett, who I had sort of great business relationship with, he was at Image Matrix, he's our CEO. You know, we all were sort of having brunch one day, and it was like we were talking about Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash and the metaverse and free to play and everything, and we were like, oh, should we do something together? And we're like, yeah, why not? You know, I definitely want to build a fantastic publishing house that is obviously, you know, makes very, very good games, and is sort of furthering everything that I've been exposed to, you know, at Rockstar in terms of that sensibility and that mindset, which I think is vital to the games industry, and you know, and in a different way, in a sort of, you know, very separate way, but kind of just take everything that I've learned and they've taught me and shown me, and kind of apply that, but sort of looking at the MMO space and the virtual worlds and social gaming. I just think there's so much opportunity, and I want a lot of very kind of cool, edgy content in those spaces. And I love the idea that everything's being disruptive, and we don't really know how it's all going to work out, and everything's under threat because it's now you've got to give away everything for free, and it's social gaming, and, you know, it's all that Farmville, right? So there's a lot of challenges, and I've always liked being in the deep end and not really knowing. And it's like sink or swim, you know. And for us, I think that's very exciting, you know, and to sort of be not pioneering, but we don't, you know, there's no template for a lot of the stuff. Oh yeah, I tell you, we made millions of mistakes all the time, and we still do. And I think, but that's also what allows us to keep pushing forward. And I think, you know, one thing I learned and passionately believe in is, you know, their idea of striving for excellence. And it's really important to do that, and really, really like do the research and put all your heart and soul into it, and make it something special, you know. And so I think I definitely bring that over. I think I learned a lot. I mean, I was like a little punk kid when we went out to New York, and then suddenly we're like 1,000 strong, and there's 13 studios, and you're flying around the world. And I think the games industry in general, we're very young, and there's a lot of areas where we can get better, and that whole sort of us and them, publisher, developer, and, you know, I think, you know, one thing at Rockstar, and I love them for this, was the idea of we've got to really kind of prove that we mean something and we're worth something at the publishing side, because the talent is what should get rewarded, and that's where the talent is at the developer level. So actually, how do we be a meaningful publisher that isn't just, oh, it's them assholes, what do they know, you know? And having an understanding of all the publishing needs that happen that are often sometimes not sort of clear to developers, and at the same time seeing at the developer level, you know, from their perspective, and there's so much improvement across the board to be done. And then also I look at like the MMO space and I'm like, sci-fi and fantasy, they can't have it all, you know, like there's stuff to be done. And I think, you know, there's obviously games and companies doing it, but, you know, and the same with sort of you know, with the social sort of, you know, gaming space, I think I want to bring some of what I learned to that space. I want to build a quality company in New York. I want to help further the New York gaming industry, definitely. And I want to build like an art house, so it's like it's fun, and we're sort of doing stuff that won't always work, but we take risks, you know, and so it's quite inspirational. And then I want to add to the ranks of Rockstar in terms of, you know, gnarly publishing house and go up against all the big boys and bring out excellent games. Yeah. Well, I worked 7 days a week at Rockstar, pretty much 10 years, and it is hard going. It is for the hardcore. And I think, you know, when I talk about sort of the youngness of the industry, it's very easy for us, both development and publishing, to get into cycles where we work we work long hours, but, you know, we start a bit later, but we faff around in the day too. We play a lot of World of Warcraft, right? But then now I've got to be here at 10 at night, and so to the wife I'm like, oh, it's the company, fuckers, they're making me, you know. And I think all of us, both publishers, like, we have ways to go in terms of sort of understanding that perhaps 7 days a week is not always the best way to do things, and there are consequences. And for us at 4MM, it's very important that you have a life outside of work, because in a way I need you to come back the next day having seen movies, read a book, had gone out for a nice movie, kind of reinvigorated. I was surprised by that. I mean, I think there was the EA thing before that. I think there's always been outbursts. I think there's obviously a cry for attention at that point, and something, you know, there was clearly a stress point that was reached. But you look at the scope and scale of Redemption, and it's like, that's a masterpiece, and it's like, that does not get made in a day. And if you look at filmmakers, and I think where a lot of our early inspirations came from, and like rock bands and sort of true art, they work 7 days a week, and to make something special and to paint your canvas, like, you kind of have to give it your all. But again, at 4M, we definitely want to get away from 7 days a week. We don't want that aspect, you know. I don't know the specifics because I had left, you know, but it's been an issue for our industry from day one.
And a steamed history in the air.
I like that word.
So we'll just kick off with a kind of
The steam
background to yourself.